Hello, I'm Professor Alan Tratner, and I founded Green to Gold, and I'm here at the Opportunity Expo in Sacramento that was produced by Tom Chavez. I've known him for years. He's done incredible work to help entrepreneurs, inventors, small businesses, and franchising. I'm pleased to be here.
Great. And what is some of the work that you're currently doing? I know you have an illustrious background as far as your involvement in the creation of Earth Day, but more than just entrepreneurship, you're focused around environmentally conscious entrepreneurship.
Yeah, we call it responsible entrepreneurship. Our incubator for now 50 years globally has 100,000 members, and that's what, as you mentioned, I've been propelled to be on Oprah and Good Morning America and CNN and to the Today Show and you name it, and Wall Street Journal and Fortune magazine and everything else. Responsible entrepreneurship is a real key to what we were talking about early on, about you could save the planet and make money at it. And we created an incubator that was nonprofit, scientific research, education, 501c3, tax exempt, so that we wouldn't have worries about vested interest or conflicts of interest. We were just going to incubate people with great ideas that could invent the future and do it in a way that was sustainable, that was green, had harmony with the planet, cared about all the species of the planet, made a difference. And that's what we've been able to do for 50 years, is have a world-class global incubator that's both virtual and real, a mixed-use, mixed-tech incubator that allows somebody with a great idea for a restaurant to be in the same kind of incubator and the same kind of assistance for funding, for intellectual property, for developing the idea as somebody that has a high-tech idea for solar energy or wind or geothermal or anything else. The mixed of nonprofits that we do, as well as for-profits, is incredible because there's synergy that happens. And whereas a nonprofit can use some of the products or services of the for-profit, help market them, and they can use that for fundraising purposes. And we try to make those connections all the time. We're unique on the planet in that people that have great ideas for nonprofits, socially and environmentally responsible. We're probably the only incubator on the planet devoted to nonprofits, and we've done about 107 since we were founded. And that means founding them, showing them how to get going, how to separate and build a great board, how to go after different kinds of funding, grants, and corporate sponsors, in-kind, do launching events that put them on the map for the media, gets their mission going. And we've done autism and battered women and STEM education and nutrition and you name it, 107 different nonprofits that are having an impact on the world. Glad to say that most of them are still operating, and we were kind of responsible for helping push them into making a difference on this planet.
And I think what's incredible, you've been doing this for 50 years, you say.
Right.
And of course, recently with the awareness, more larger public awareness about climate change, I know some people are still disbelievers. And recently with the millennials stepping up, kind of spearheading with this girl Greta, kind of talking truth to power, saying that, listen, we're inheriting the world that you're leaving us. I think it's been more in the news about the importance of climate change and the importance about investing and reinvesting in green. So I commend you for your for Vision 50 years. How does that apply now, do you see, to a whole new generation of upstarts, of people who are looking to make change, not just protest or have lip service, but really can do something to really make a difference?
That's a super question. Listen to this. This is very interesting. Al Gore, who I know and I worked with during the 1990s when he was vice president, and he helped us with our National Marketplace for the Environment, Eco Expo, the Green Business Conference. He showed that the world, he did with the Inconvenient Truth, that the sky was falling, basically, okay? And that we had to do something about it. So he catalyzed everybody. He won a Nobel Prize for it, has influenced the whole world in knowing about climate change and the reality. Science is validating that all the way down the line, and you're right. The protests that happened a couple of weeks ago around the world were amazing. These are the youngsters that are going to make a difference because they care about the planet. They care about their future in a way that we were trying to do at the founding of Earth Day. We were polluting this planet. We were doing the air, water, land, our food, the others causing extinction of species. It was an unprecedented thing. And the modern environmental movement happened in the Santa Barbara oil spill, that platform that burned out. And all of a sudden, all the publications and media that was in the world were covering the environmental crisis. And we, in 1969, were working toward this green kind of deal that was going to be happening, that's now the new Green Deal in politics, is could we make a difference with invention, with entrepreneurship, with small business, with universities and academia? Could we get corporations, could we get government behind this idea of saving the planet, making a difference, because it is only Spaceship Earth. Buckminster Fuller, that I actually worked with before he died, we did a book, he did the foreword on it, called Energy, Earth, and Everyone, and I was a co-author. And what that was all about, he's the one that coined Spaceship Earth. We have all of our life support systems on this single planet. Right now, we don't have a place to go to other than that, okay? And we're foolish in industry and every other sector that we don't take advantage of reinventing what's already doing bad things to the planet and inventing new things that will help it. And most of that, there's 4 crises facing humanity: energy, water, food, and now the environmental and climate change. All of those are problems, and what we're all about at Green to Gold is when you see a problem, it's an opportunity. And it's an opportunity to invent something, create something, sell something, distribute something, be in the manufacturing sector, make a change in all the things that are commerce on this planet. And that's where these kids can fit in to a whole new career that is environmental responsibility in business. And we do that in the Green to Gold Incubator. We show them how they can protect their intellectual property with patents and copyrights and trademarks and domain names. We show them how they do market research to validate what they're doing, whether it's a nonprofit or a for-profit. We show them how to get into careers that are helping the planet, and green companies that are being incubated by us and other accelerators and incubators. Get a job, make a difference. Don't just talk about it and hawk about it. Be politically active, but where you can get traction is you get into the green economy. And that's what we tried to foster with Green to Gold, is a sustainable green economy, totally renewably powered, with all the wonderful sources of energy that we have that are part of our planet, that are not fossil fuels, that aren't radioactive, and that can make a future that's beneficial for everybody and lift the poverty of the world and lift some of the pressures of terrorism and people that are hopeless and all the kinds of things that are bad news on this planet because of the way our civilization is, and the prejudices and all the things going on can be fundamentally changed in a green, sustainable economy where we're living and breathing and eating and drinking and coexisting as one species on planet Earth. And I think that's a big deal. And we're just a small part of that kind of cog of wheels and gears to incubate new enterprises, new inventions, new technologies, nonprofits that can make that difference, produce new careers for kids and adults that care about it. Leave your Fortune 500 polluting company and come take your expertise and get into a green company and make a big difference in this world. And it's a legacy for you, your children, and for future generations.
And I really appreciate that you brought that up at the end too, about leave your Fortune 500 company. Recently, I know that a few years back, the Rockefellers did a 500 city resilience initiative. And of course, when people hear the Rockefeller name, there's a great adversity because of the petroleum empire that they created and all the other things that they've done. So for people sometimes who feel powerless or apathetic or sad, or what can I do? There's all these huge, really 3% of 1% making all the decisions that control the world's wealth. Right. There's a small echelon of people who are the decision makers. What information can you give someone to really help them feel like there's hope and empower and inspire them to play a part, even if it's on a personal level? I know right now we're producing this water protector tour 2020, and it's under this entity we create, the Alliance for Resilient Communities. Right. So that's hypothetically this nonprofit that we're creating right now. And we're really just focused on the Sacramento River watershed. I do find that people become so overwhelmed with so many issues, it's hard for people to focus. And of course, we live in a world of so many technologies and potential distractions that kind of keep us distracted from things we could be doing, or maybe we want to be doing, or even can rearrange our priorities. So when I do it, the Water Protector Tour, and I say Alliance for Resilient Communities, people instantly think of the Resilient City Initiative by the Rockefellers. And I say, well, realistically, there's no direct connection, but the idea of resilience, of communities coming back, of regeneration,
Right.
not just sustainability, is absolutely key right now, and that you play a part in that. So what words, again, of inspiration could you offer people to help empower them to feel like not so powerless?
This is beautiful. Thank you for your initiatives. I really applaud that. And somebody that was involved at the very beginning of this whole movement and Earth Day, I get a big, wonderful tingle in my heart about folks like you that care and are continuing this cause about this is one planet. We only have one home, and we all have to pull together about this. I will tell you, my feelings are about current existing industry and government in that sense, is that we have to get into this thing that there aren't really bad guys and good guys. Although there are evil people and bad guys and criminals and warped folks, but the vast majority of humanity wants to just live in peace, in a compatible environment, in harmony with the rest of the species of the planet and with everybody else, and make a living and take care of themselves and survive, okay? And what I've always advocated is the transition, the great transition. Don't deify someone like the Rockefellers who have seen the light in their history. They did the petroleum revolution and everything else and are responsible for a lot of pollution, but also a lot of jobs and a lot of economic development. And there was a balance. Don't deify them. Say that if you're transitioning into helping support a responsible environmental green economy, let's accept that. And I think companies like General Motors and aerospace companies and all the way down the line transition from fossil fuels, pollution techniques, manufacturing pollution, and go into the green, adopt new inventions, new technology, new methodologies, and you will then slide into having a terrific legacy, and your company will continue to exist rather than trying to put out of business the petroleum companies, the gas companies. They have the wealth right now in many ways. They should be the ones that are transitioning, and some are doing that, into green and into renewable energy. That's the sustainable picture, even from a profit-driven standpoint. If your industry is going to be polluted and regulated, and it's sliding down the curve of exhausting and non-renewable resource, doesn't it make sense for your board of directors and your stockholders to slide into a sustainable part of that renewable energy industry, take that wealth and those assets and the technical expertise, get into that, transition. That's what I think the kids are going to get motivated about. If they watch conventional companies start to do them, there are many of them. And there are bold companies like Patagonia and Seventh Generation that were kind of pioneers and all that stuff. Seeing the opportunity and the problem coming together and solving it is incredible. And it allows creativity. I mean, we're all blessed with incredible brains on this planet to do great things and to make a difference. And so you do that in your home, personal responsibility. What you do that is more greener, next time, don't buy a IC engine car. Get a hybrid or an electric car, and they're becoming much more affordable and available. That's a big difference in CO2, contributions. Buy products that are green. Prefer to buy products. I've been through the phases from Earth Day through Green to Gold and our Green Business Conference of what they used to call the greens, and then there was the browns, and then the whites. And what that meant is that people that cared about the planet would even at a premium cost, would buy things to help their home, the consumables that they have. Then there were the browns that it was priced. They wanted to have green products, but it was priced at. And then there were the whites that didn't give a crap about that, okay? Those have converted over the whole world now to understanding that if we pay a little bit premium to get a green product in the place, the benefits and the factors that affect the economy and pollution and everything else are helped by that little personal that change that you made as a consumer. Then in businesses and offices and government and education, look how many kids, there's been a rise in people that are taking green courses, becoming sustainability experts, even in chemistry. about green chemistry. There's a whole change happening in academia where people are trying to make a difference and have careers that are in fact sustainable in green. And they should be excited about that.
And even some city governments I've seen, like in Oakland and even now up in Butte County, a lot of governments are opening offices of resilience where they're looking at the connections between these things. Like, okay, we have wildfire. Well, why is there wildfire?
Right.
Well, it relates to forest mismanagement. Well, let's consider the reality of indigenous forest management or resource management and how that worked for thousands of years. And also, when we have these wildfires, how does it affect people's health? How does it affect water quality? How does it affect our security, not only at home, but our international security?
Right.
So it
affects the economy, which is interesting. A lot of what happens in this world is driven by the economic factors, the financial factors. So you have wildfires that are wiping out whole cities and incredible amounts of buildings and infrastructure and everything. That has to be replaced. The insurance industry, government has to pile on. When you rebuild, make it resilient, make it sustainable, make it renewably powered, okay? And change the building materials industry alone can make a huge difference in what's happening on this planet. And so in a way, all these human-caused crises and natural-based crises, tsunamis and hurricanes and tornadoes and all the things that are going on, every time that happens, that crisis, there is an opportunity for us to fix up what was destroyed and make it better for the future in a green way. And I think youngsters, I think adults, I think the post-war World War II baby boom, my parents and everything, they cared about their families. But we're a family of mankind on a spaceship Earth, and we've got to get everybody that are fired up about making a difference in their future to pull together. And that's why government and industry and education and all businesses and everybody in recreation, you name a sector that's in our world economy that can't be fixed in some way to make them more resilient, make them more sustainable, make them green, renewably powered. If we all pull together and let that big transition I was talking about happen, we will reach a future that's much better for everybody. Elon Musk said that, how do you anticipate the future? You create it. Okay, and that's what we've been trying to do. Invent the future, do it in a sustainable way, do it in a green way, understand the benefits of doing that, and make money at it. There's nothing wrong with making livings and sustaining yourself and your family and sometimes dreaming of fortunes. A lot of people have made a lot of money in inventing new technology, new green tech and everything else, and there's nothing wrong about, especially if they turn to charities like you're going to be, a nonprofit, and they support you from that wealth that they just gained from doing a green product or a green service. That everything's driven by the economies of the world, and we need a single green economy that's sustainable. So I think everybody that cares, that is emotionally moved about climate change and about pollution and about killing wildlife and extinction, they need to embrace in their households how they live. They need to embrace in their households how they live and the choices they make as consumers, but more importantly, get in the game. Get into green enterprises, cause green invention, green entrepreneurship, get into nonprofits that can make a big difference, bring the families and the communities together, do all that. That is activism that will have a great impact beyond the political side. Okay? Raising awareness is what we did in Earth Day. And we even did, by the way, there was a Sunday. Then I was appointed by Governor Brown when the first time out, Moonbeam Brown, and we had Mayor Bradley, and it was a year project to replicate what we did in Earth Day to do a renewable energy day around the world called Sunday, May of 1978. And we did festivals, and the sun started on the part of the world that was in Europe or something, and it crossed, as it went across the sky, we were having events that were following that pathway, and we ended up in Los Angeles and on the beach, and we had Governor Brown come, and we had examples of every kind of solar and wind and geothermal and green technology before people were thinking about it, but it was all to raise the awareness of renewable energy as one of the major solutions. It didn't take on, it didn't fit and get connected as Earth Day did. But it was a great attempt to bring everybody's awareness. And I've been there at all those things, and now climate change, I just love the fact that a worldwide movement is happening And that young Swedish lady, I believe, is autistic too, is really leading and at the forefront, just like the women's movement politically that happened the last couple of years. There is such change happening, and if we can tap into that energy and that momentum and put it into the green economy and green jobs, good green jobs, and sustainable jobs, I think we can make a big difference on this planet. As long as we don't blow ourselves off the planet with the nukes and everything and warfare. That's the other. I remember at the United Nations conference on the first one in the human environment in Stockholm, Sweden, 1972. I participated and contributed to it and did a whole series of wall charts about technology versus the environment, what we were doing to ourselves, okay? One of them was in fact about weapons, biological, chemical, atomic, all the things that we do in warfare. That's a pollution problem, okay? It's also a pollution of the mind problem. And if we can solve the issue of living in peace and decommission all these rockets that are loaded with the wiping out of humanity, hydrogen bombs that, 100 times, 1,000 times more powerful than Hiroshima, that can take out an entire city. If we can get on that cycle too, that whole end, nuclear war, peace people that have been doing that, the scientists that have that bulletin of atomic science, the clock that we get closer and closer to doomsday. Most people don't understand that the arsenals are mostly still there. That in a nuclear winter will be the demise. You talk about climate change if we have an atomic war. So I think there's a lot here for the new generations, the millennials you call them, and to embrace and make a difference. And I think they start in the home, in their consumer choices, and then get into jobs, start enterprises that are green and clean and are powered by renewable energy. I think that's a big change. And I think these kids are motivated to make a big difference here around the world. And it isn't just us developing countries that are developed, okay, that have all this wealth. What is it? We have 1/5 of the population, and we consume 50% of the energy. The United States, okay? That's why we have the standard of living, what we have. But it's based on poor choices of energy, okay? And look how many people around the world in developing countries and poverty-stricken were part of this whole movement about climate change. They understand that their countries and their water and their energy and their food and their future is affected by this climate change. So I applaud her, I applaud what you're doing. My little role was to create an incubator that was about green tech and clean tech and sustainability and renewable energy and try to get ventures happening, invent the future, save the planet, and make money at it.
Fantastic. So just to go back for one moment, can you again mention, you said these are the 4 biggest issues that you mentioned, water?
The crisis, okay.
Please.
The biggest crises that we know of right now are energy, and all the impacts it has on the environment and the economy, and water.
So looking at energy for a moment, besides solar and wind, I know there's been a lot of talk about Nikola Tesla, magnetic energies, free energies. I know
there's
Foster Gamble.
Esoteric energies that have to be validated, okay? Right. We do that at our incubator. We have to validate all the technologies that come through us, scientifically, economically. We need to do that. But to me, energy, the future of energy, is all the natural renewable sources. And there are gazillion, in fact, and when the people talk about nuclear power, okay, so you have a legacy of 250,000 years or more of some of the radionuclides, and you have to sequester them. There's been a study done from the mining of uranium to when they have to shut down the reactors after 30 years or whatever it is, and then they have to store all those wastes, and the final outcome of that study is that there's no net energy. After we spent billions of dollars, risked our environment, risked the possibility of terrorists or bad guys getting a hold of that stuff, it's just not a great proposition. We've been against fission for a long time. The safest nuclear power is 93 million miles away, and it's called the sun. Okay? And we here on the earth are the benefit of that. Wind and hydropower and biomass out of farms. Farms are our new way to make energy out of the waste and crops that are renewable all the time. Bio-based economy is what we got to have in a sustainable economy. But there's, geothermal, there's ocean thermal, there's so many natural sources that can power this planet. And by the way, they're both geographically based, but they're also available to be shared across countries.
It just takes a political will.
Yeah. And
an economic will.
Economic, because when investors and funders and utilities see the possibility of continuing to be a sustainable enterprise or utility by investing in renewable energy and doing that, like Southern California Edison and some of the other ones, they're making a difference. It's good for their stockholders. It's good for the utility ratepayer. This is what's going to happen. So energy, water, the crisis of water, potable water on this planet. One of the big things that's going to happen is that how do we get clean water to all these billions of people and continue to do so? And there's all kinds of technologies for stopping the waste of wastewater going to the oceans, okay? Then there's the food crisis. How do you feed a planet that continues to exponentially grow in population? There's a whole crisis happening about the soil and about how much we can grow. Greenhouses or not. The green revolution happened in the 60s. But now we got to figure out how we're going to feed everybody else, and in a way that is in fact greener and more sustainable and not as wasteful as we are. Then ultimately, so you have water, you have energy, you have water, you have food, and now we know, of course, the environmental one that's been with us forever, and climate change. The big, big question is how quickly. It's already rapidly happening. Everybody's seeing the glaciers receding and the Arctic, circle is starting to melt. There's all kinds of interesting barometers about that. But I think what will happen is that because of this movement that happened a couple of weeks ago worldwide, people are going to demand their governments, demand their industries to do something about it, and we all can be a part of that. And that begins with consumerism, and it ends up in politics, and it ends up in industry, commerce. That's why the green economy is the magic bullet in a way. When we thought about the green economy, it was just about stopping pollution, air, water, land, food, everything that we're doing, killing species, okay? But we never realized that what the green economy meant is that our species could coexist with the rest of the planet in harmony, and everyone could have a high standard of living without polluting the heck out of the planet and destroying it. And that's kind of like we're the focal point about inventing the technologies and enterprises and nonprofits that can help that. We're not the only solution, but we've been dedicated to it for 50 years. And we know a lot of the obstacles that people face. And if you have a great idea, cashing in on great ideas for helping the world, in making money by new technology, new inventions, new businesses, education, whatever it is, come to us. That's what we're all about. And we're here to help you succeed. We've learned all the rough spots and all the obstacles and how to propel you and even get access to funding now. Part of what we were here today at the Opportunity Expo the last 2 days is that we brought a revolution, one last revolution, and it's called crowdfunding, equity crowdfunding. Because the SEC a couple of years ago finally approved something that was called the Obama Jobs Act, where everybody, not just the 1%ers and the richest angel and venture capital and royalty and the people that inherited the money or stole it, all the wealthy people have always multiplied their money because they could invest in other things, okay? Now every man, every person, every woman can be a part of investing in a green future, in a sustainable future, because you can get into these enterprises through equity crowdfunding, unaccredited and accredited investors. And Title III is part of what we're here, the partnership. They're trying to show you how that pathway. All of our incubees, that's what I call our members that are in our incubator, the busy bees in the incubator, so they're incubees, they're trying to launch new enterprises. It used to be you had to go through hell to get in front of angels and ventures, and sometimes they were hostile and they would take over your company. Yep. That can end now. That control of your creativity and your mission and your passion and what you're trying to do can change now because of crowdfunding. Equity crowdfunding, it's a whole new paradigm now. It's only 1,070,000 right now by the SEC cap, but there's talk that it's going to go 2 to 5 million, maybe 20 million, and that's in a range that blows angel investors out of the water and allows them to be a part of this the whole world can invest in your little invention, your new venture, especially if it comes out of the green side, that it's responsible, that it's economical, it's renewably powered in some way. It's recycled cradle to cradle. That phrase that people have heard means that you think about your invention, your product, your enterprise from the very beginning to the end cycle. And can it close the loop, the ecological loop of a product? And that's what we try to do. But crowdfunding is a revolution in the making that is going to democratize investment for everybody on this planet. You could have someone over in India put $100 into your venture, and there could be people in Europe and the United States and angel people and whoever they want, accredited and uncredited, and propel your venture where you never could do that before. That's one of the revolutions that's going to help propel the green economy.